Welcome to the revolution. So this is a show where we try to get folks to understand the problems in their government and try to fix it, and bring together the left, the right, the middle, everyone to tackle the issues as we see them. And one of the things that we decided that we were going to follow up on was the case of Mohammed Ibrahim. Who is he? He's a 16-year-old American kid that was in an Israeli prison, and he was charged with throwing rocks, and one of the rocks thrown by a group of people landed on the windshield of a car, and they said, so since he was in that group, meaning they don't really know if he's the one who threw the rock at all, he might have just looked at other people throwing rocks and that was good enough, he's going to prison. And he was put in some of the most notorious prisons, the Megiddo prison and the Offer prison, and then he got sick. We're going to tell you all about that. And we talked to his uncle before, Ziad Kadur, and what we were trying to do is put together a campaign to get him released. I mean, he's a US citizen. He should be in Florida enjoying Dairy Queen and his studies, and Israel wouldn't release him. So we did a pressure campaign trying to pressure Marco Rubio, among others, to make sure that this American kid was brought home and that we care about our own citizens. It's the bare minimum you could ask as an American, right? So we have an update for you guys on that, and we brought Ziad Kadur back. Welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you for having us back.
Yeah, no problem. So I hear you have a development.
Yeah, a big one.
Okay, so what happens, Ziad?
On Thanksgiving Day, Mohammed had a court hearing, and he was released on Thursday.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay, so
he's back with his family.
Look at that, a little bit of pressure, and all of a sudden we got a result. Okay, that's amazing. Okay, so first, where was he released to?
He was released to his father. His father was waiting outside of the Ofer prison.
Okay,
there was a bond that we had to post, and it was a guilty plea, and in exchange for a suspended sentencing.
Interesting. All right, so we have video of his dad waiting for him. Let's show that to the folks at home. Okay, that was emotional. I teared up a little bit there. Okay, I want to show you a picture of what Mohammed looked like before he went to Israeli prison and afterwards. Okay, so he lost a lot of weight. And Ziad, he also developed scabies, right?
Yes.
So I had to look that up. Was that like, it felt like it was something that pirates got back in the day, but it's a rash you get when mites get under your skin. So he was not in good shape in these prisons, was he?
No, we knew that. We knew that from the U.S. Embassy updates that, the first update was massive weight loss. The second update was more weight loss, scabies on his leg. And then, we heard things like low BMI, scabies on the rest of his body. And they were requesting treatment and they were requesting medical for him. And the IPS was telling the U.S. Embassy that he's being monitored and he's giving medicine as needed.
Okay, and so he's now in the occupied territories, right? Is he?
Yeah, he's in the Ramallah area.
Yeah, so that's the West Bank. So is he planning to come back home to Florida?
Yeah. So the first thing we did, we took him to the hospital. We got him some IVs. We did some blood work. They did a couple ultrasounds. They checked out his liver, his kidney function, his things like that. He still has the scabies. The scabies is contagious, and to try and get that under control, they gave him like different ointments for it. We're getting his hydration back, feeding him slowly. He can't eat too many solids yet. He has to be slowly back introduced to those things like that. His stomach is, shrunken. His vitamin D was very low. He was very pale. His eyes are, sunken in with those dark circles around him and things like that. He's got skin boils and the scabies, that are obvious. It's been 9.5 months of, kind of what you can imagine it's been like in one of those prisons.
No, I want to put the picture back up because I want people to see the difference. Because when he went in, he looks like the most normal kid you've ever seen, right? I think he was around 15 years old at the time.
Yeah.
When he comes back, he looks like a survivor of a camp, if we're being honest. You're right, it's the sunken eyes, the black around the eyes, the extreme weight loss. And so
look at the nose, even the nose, because his cheeks are completely gone. It looks like he has a bigger nose. But if you see before, the picture before is just a few weeks before he traveled back overseas. So, you're talking about end of January to Thanksgiving.
So, so Ziad, if he doesn't plead guilty, there's no way they're going to let him out, is my sense of it from the outside. What's your sense of that plea? And then after that, most importantly, why do you think the Israelis finally let him go?
First guess, I would say, media, social media pressure, major news networks were calling and doing stories and reaching out to the Israelis for their side of the story. It's fact that their side of the story didn't match what the U.S. Embassy was telling us. So, there was contradictions in what we were hearing from the Israeli authorities and, as Americans and, us advocating for him and going to our government and going to our embassy and to our politicians to help. It's not really our place to believe what the Israelis were telling us. We'll believe what our government is telling us, the Americans. And if there, whatever contradictions there are, we didn't see Mohammed for 9.5 months. We don't know what his side of the story is. So, we'll go with what the U.S. Embassy tells us. And, the two best friends can kind of figure out who's telling the other a lie.
Yeah, so tell us about the contradictions between what the U.S. Embassy was saying and what the Israelis were saying.
So the Israelis were telling our officials in Washington that his BMI is closely monitored, that he sees doctors, that his scabies have been addressed, that he's given medication when needed, and that he's basically fine. We heard things like they said he confessed and he's guilty, and this is not a political thing. I think the statement from the Prime Minister's office: "This is not political. This is a serious crime." They used words like intention to harm. And, he's a 15-year-old, he's a juvenile. There's Israeli law, where you don't blindfold kids and take them zip tied at gunpoint. There's also Geneva Code, there's UN international law. And, last but not least, there's US, international and US juvenile law that, that they should have respected and followed, especially since, America's your greatest ally and you're the only democracy in the Middle East and things like that.
To me, it seems like the main reason he was able to get out of that Israeli prison, which is, look, a lot of those prisons honestly are hellholes. And they both physically, and that's why you lose all that weight and you get the diseases, but also legally, they basically kidnap Palestinians all the time and hold them without charges for sometimes years at a time. So there's not the same rule of law we expect here in America. That doesn't apply to the occupied territories where the occupying force can almost do anything they want to the local population and often do. So
it's a military prison with a military judge and prosecutor and military style interrogation. But you're also talking about a juvenile, a minor, an American who is a civilian. So, you go from civilian to military prison, and you're talking about a conviction rate of 99.7%. So your chances of you being innocent, since this place's establishment is 99.7% that you're going away for a while.
Yeah, so it's a kangaroo court when the conviction rate is 99.7%. That means they're not really looking at the evidence. They don't care what's true at all. You're a Palestinian, they're gonna lock you up. They don't care. It's leverage. They can keep a whole bunch of hostages. So if Hamas takes 20 hostages or however many they take, 200, etc., and at the end you got 20 left, oh, we'll exchange them for 2,000 of our own hostages. Well, why did you take those hostages? We don't care. We're lawless, occupying force. We can do anything we want. So every once in a while, we'll just grab Palestinians. So Ziad, them grabbing innocent Palestinians is pretty normal. Them doing it to minors is very normal, unfortunately. Not following the law, kangaroo courts, indefinite detentions, all very normal for the occupation forces in the West Bank. Okay, what's different about this, and by the way, they've murdered 9 Americans, either settlers or the IDF, since October 7th, or since 2022, so in the last 3 years. And we've got no accountability. Our government going, yeah, of course, it's Israel. They're allowed to murder Americans, who cares? No accountability at all, right?
His first cousin is one of those Americans that were murdered.
Yeah.
He didn't know until he got out.
See, so they just kill Americans, no accountability. What's remarkable about this case is that we got a little bit of accountability and we got an American kid out of an Israeli gulag. That's like nearly miraculous. So what do you think made the difference in this case?
God knows best. That's who we think, that's where the credit goes to. If anybody else wants to take credit for it, tell them to think twice. Don't pat yourself on the back for a minor or a juvenile to come out looking like that 9.5 months later. That's the part we're not happy about. We're thankful and happy he's home, and we can give him the attention and the love that he needs to get better and to get healthy. But he shouldn't have been there for 9.5 months. He shouldn't have been starved like that. He shouldn't look like that after leaving a prison. His family didn't work, didn't travel. They stayed there for 9.5 months without a job. They couldn't just get on a plane and come back to the States and leave the kid there. But more importantly, we had people in Congress out of, I think, the House and the Senate. It's like, what is it, 550 some, politicians, 27 of them signed a letter and stood up for Muhammad and asked for his urgent release. That's a shame in itself that only 27 were human enough to recognize that this kid needed help. International pressure, media, social media, lawyers, we did what we can. And, he's home along with the 3 other children that are arrested with him. So all 4 of them are out now.
Yeah. Okay, thank God.
Thank God.
Yeah, so I hear you on that, but I will give credit to you guys in the family who worked so hard to make this happen. We'll give credit to the 27 Congress people, yes, out of 535, but the 27 who did the right thing and created the pressure. Give credit to everyone who helped in that campaign. You got an American kid out of jail where he didn't belong there. You got him freedom, and I appreciate you guys, and certainly all the prayers, etc. And every piece of it helped, and so I appreciate everyone who helped. And I'm just thrilled that we got a great outcome here. It'd be great if Israel actually overall cared about American citizens, but we'll take this victory. And on Thanksgiving, obviously that's a sign when they do it on Thanksgiving. Okay, America, on your special holiday, we'll give you a prisoner back, a child back, who obviously didn't belong there in the first place. It's hard for me to say, oh wow, thank you, we're so grateful. You should have never taken him in the first place. You shouldn't be in the West Bank in the first place. You shouldn't have any of our money in the first place. You shouldn't be allowed to commit all the war crimes that you commit in the first place. But for all the good guys who worked to get him out, we're thrilled that Mohammed Ibrahim is out, and hopefully he'll be back in Florida soon. Ziad, thank you for fighting a good fight. Thank you for being a good uncle and caring. and we appreciate you coming on here and telling us the story so that our audience and everybody else could help a little bit.
Well, thank you for what you do and what you continue to do, and exposing the truth needs to be done. And people like you and other organizations, that was where we got the real help from. From the people who looked at Muhammad as a human. They didn't look at his first name. They didn't look at his DNA. So we want to recognize that and recognize everybody else that helped. Everybody who picked up a phone and called a representative, wrote a letter, did a call to action. An influencer on social media, true journalism like you guys, and we just and like I said, God first and everybody else behind that. Thank you guys.
All right, thank you, brother. Zayad Kadur, his nephew is finally out, and hopefully we'll be back in the States soon. Thank you, brother.
Have a good night. Bye-bye.
You too. All right. It always feels a little miraculous when you get a fair result. So look, I'm thrilled about that. That was one of the campaigns we did, and if we helped even a tiny amount, right, then I feel fantastic about it. And thank you guys for anybody who tweeted at Marco Rubio or tried to contact him in any way to push this along. So when you got a boulder this big, which is moving the Israelis, is as big a boulder as you can have, you need a lot of people to push on it. If we don't all push together, we won't be able to roll that boulder down the hill. So for any of you who participate in that, oh God, I love you. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for trying to help an American citizen. Thank you for trying to help a kid. Thank you for being human and decent and moral. But on top of that, thank you for having a little bit of hope that maybe we could get a good result. And so we have. And so that's wonderful in this case. Now on to the next one, and the one after that, and the one after that. So, okay, speaking of which, so let me just take the rest of the time here quickly to tell you guys about not just the other stuff we're working on, but also why we do what we do and why I created this show in the first place. So number one, we got kidsofgaza.com and kidsofpalestine.com, and we're showing pictures. Mohammed was on there, and we have pictures of kids and their bios who passed away, some who were in Israeli prisons like Mohammed Ibrahim. Now we're gonna have to take him off the site. And oh my God, that's awesome. That's awesome that we have to take him off the site as a kid who was in one of those dire situations. And we've got corruptionwatch.us, so we're working on all of those. And imagine if they have the same kind of effect that this had. Even if we're a tiny part of pushing the boulder, it makes a giant difference, guys, because otherwise nobody believes and nobody pushes. And if you all push together, you're seeing the results. You're seeing it with your own eyes. So let's keep pushing together to fight for the average American. So from today's show, look, there's a couple of stories where I go, well, what are we doing here? What does anybody like? When I was a kid, I believed in the American government. And I believed in the rule of law. I believed in all these things we were taught. Truth, justice, and the American way. Yeah, I mean that might have been from a comic, but it was also part of our lore, our mythology, our DNA of America, and the idea that we came here for. And of course, justice for all, and all those things. And now the Hexeth story from today. So they did a double tap. There's no question they killed people they didn't need to kill on that boat after the first strike. The first strike is already illegal. They have no evidence on those people at all. But our government doing illegal things has become so normal, and that's already heartbreaking, and we shouldn't accept it as normal. But when they do a second strike to kill the survivors, no one disputes that that's a war crime and wrong and murder, right? Because when people are incapacitated, whether they're prisoners of war or we're captured in any other circumstance like that, we don't shoot them in the head and we don't bomb them in the head. We don't murder them. That's not what America is. So, but as I said earlier in the Young Turks episode, when Republicans were calling for accountability for whoever gave the order all the way up to Hexeth, I was like, no. I thought that was the most remarkable part of that story, because we never have accountability in America for wrongdoing, for war crimes by the powerful, like literally almost never. There'll be rando things like, oh, Senator Menendez is taking gold bullion and cold hard cash from the Egyptians. It's a little garish. Let's go regulate on that, right? But it doesn't touch any of the rest of power. It's just a one guy in office trying to get goodies for himself. Eric Adams, same thing with the Turks. Down in Texas, I'm glad that I'm forgetting his name, but the Democrat who was like the most conservative guy in the whole Democratic Party. Cuellar. Thank you, Cuellar. He apparently had a secret deal with the Azerbaijanis. That's still in progress. Trump might pardon him because he pardons everyone who does fraud and everyone who does corruption. So I'm surprised he hasn't pardoned him yet. But Cuellar, I don't know what the hell's going on with that case. So they brought that case up like 6 years ago. So even like Cuellar, irrelevant congressman down in Texas, but like it takes forever, even when it's a rando guy and a rando piece of corruption. But if it's connected in any way to the power structure, you're never gonna get accountability. And that's not what America is supposed to be. America is supposed to be a rule of law and order, and all these things we cared about, the Constitution and everyone being treated the same. And I hate that we're now living in a country where we're not treated the same. The people in power have extra rights and privileges, and they could break the law, and they could commit fraud, and they could do all these things, and they could rip us off, and they could take legalized bribes, and they could serve the super wealthy and other nations, and they never ever serve us. So that's why I'm so frustrated. That's why we're doing this show. That's why I'm saying, look, put everything aside, man. Okay, your views on all these different issues, they matter, sure, right? Of course, we care about the social issues. And I'm happy to go back at each other's throats about that at a later time, okay? But right now, can we get our government back so we follow the rule of law, so we don't commit war crimes left and right? And as I said in the show, I mean, you want to talk about war crimes, connected to stories. Hexus does that, but Israel's done dozens of double taps. Israel has snipers that, according to American doctors that come back, shoot kids on a regular basis in the head and the chest. Snipers murdering children, some of them under the age of 5. And we're like, oh, bravo, nice job. For accountability, hell no, we're gonna go in the opposite direction. We're gonna give you a $31 billion gift for all your war crimes, all your murder. We want the American taxpayers to pay for it. Do the American taxpayers want to pay for that? Hell no, hell no. Now the right wing is screaming no, the left wing is screaming no, every wing is screaming no. And the American government goes, shut up, you didn't bribe us. Israel bribed us, we serve Israel. We serve ExxonMobil, we serve Pfizer, we serve Johnson & Johnson, Lockheed Martin, Raytheon. All of our scum politicians bow down to their actual lords, the people who rule over them and hence rule over us. And the job of legacy media, corporate media, is to cover all that up and lie to you guys 24/7 and say, no, we have rule of law, everybody follows the rules, there's no extra different rules for the powerful. No, there's no donors. Yeah, they exist, but they have no influence. Very tiny little influence. Maybe a politician will pick up the phone and listen to a donor, but otherwise, no. They're liars, they're gigantic liars. All of our politicians only care about the donors. They serve them 100% of the time. The rest of us, we're out here, we think we live in a democracy, but we don't. A corporate donor could overrule you, and by the way, all the way up to your life, anytime they want. We're the only developed nation left on earth that doesn't have public health insurance. Why don't we have it? Because private health insurance pays off all of our congressmen. Because we have privatized health insurance, over 70,000 American citizens die every year because they don't have insurance. And our politicians go, who cares? Let the Americans die. I got a check from a health insurance company. Oh, United Health gave me money. So 60,000 Americans are gonna die, 40,000 Americans are gonna die. Who cares? My donors want them to die. So they're gonna die because I'm gonna take that bribe. The Supreme Court made it legal. Ha ha, I'm never gonna serve you. Well, I'm sick of it. I'm absolutely sick of it, and the whole country's sick of it. Look, you think look like we're finally getting to what I'm calling the Great Awakening, right? When people realize, oh, these guys are monumentally full of crap. They don't care about the voters at all. This isn't a democracy. And I've told you guys this a million times. I have it in my book, Justice is Coming. They did a study of 2,000 bills over 20 years, professor from Princeton and Northwestern. They found out that the bottom 90% of Americans, that's 9 out of 10 American citizens, have zero effect on the law, on policy. Zero, nothing. So 9 out of 10 Americans, you don't count at all. Politicians look at you and they laugh at you. They go, who cares? And look at what Trump just did. He pardoned one of the worst drug traffickers in the history of humanity. The former president of Honduras, random rural congressman who helped the drug traffickers and they elevated him to the presidency. We gave him 45 years, proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that he was a colossal drug trafficker. Trump, for whatever reason, because of something dirty that the CIA wants, or something dirty that a donor wants, or something, it was like, oh yeah, drug traffickers, just murdering Americans, talking about how they're gonna shove the coke up gringos' noses, and gringos not even gonna know about it. And Trump's like, bravo, way to screw over Americans. We're gonna go to war in Venezuela, not over drugs, but because my oil donors want us to rob that place blind. So you go die there, American Marines, sappers, Air Force, whoever, just get down, ground troops, go down there and die for ExxonMobil. And you over there that don't have insurance, you die for United Health, okay? And you over there, you're gonna die for Israel, okay? All you guys are gonna do whatever the hell, we're gonna make sure that your lives are miserable all the way up to death because my donors want you to be miserable. And so that's what the situation that we're in now. And by the way, the transportation guys, I can give you an example from every single industry. So the Biden administration comes in, Pete Buttigieg is the head of transportation, and there's giant train crashes and planes fall out of the sky. And Buttigieg, did he do anything to fix it? No, he came back out and he was like, no, we're working on it with the beloved airline companies and the beloved railroad companies, and we'll do whatever they tell us to do. Barely made any fixes at all. Why? Because he's gonna get that cash from, from the railroad companies and the plane companies and every other kind of company. And then Sean Duffy comes in, and the guy's literally named after a beer, was a reality show guy before, but the president's a reality show guy. So I'm kidding about the beer. All right. So he comes in and he's like, calculated misery is what the airline companies do. We all know it. It's part of their industry. Their job is to make us more miserable. So we'll pay them $35 extra to get on the plane first, or get more luggage space or whatever, right? But I'm not gonna do anything about that. And in fact, I'm gonna brutalize the air traffic controller guys so your travel is much more miserable. But I want you to wear a 3-piece suit to the plane and that'll solve it. No, it's not solving it. None of it is solving anything because our politicians are the very worst people in the country. They're not trying to solve anything at all. The only thing they're trying to solve is how much money they can get in their greedy, corrupt pockets. So I dream of a day that we go back to America and we have rule of law and we follow the Constitution and we care and we fight for the actual voters and citizens of this country. That's what this show's about. That's what almost everything I do is about. Let's go get our country back. But today was a good day. We got an American kid out of an Israeli gulag, and apparently enough Americans cared and put enough pressure on our government that they're like, fine, Israel didn't kill him yet. Israel, come on, do one favor on Thanksgiving. It'll be like pardoning the turkey. I bet they had a good laugh over it, right? Like an American kid, like his life is worth anything. He's not even Israeli. But over Thanksgiving, we'll pardon one of the turkeys. That's probably what the internal conversation they had. And so we got one kid out. So I feel great today. We did something. We helped a little bit to get to justice. Imagine if we all worked together And it's not like there isn't a spectacular case of it that just happened, the Epstein files. The whole country roared and the politicians had to back down. Please, let's do it again and again and again. Get enough people here or anywhere to make sure we can effectuate change, and we can, but we've got to all do it together. All right, guys. So at the end of these, I do a bonus episode for you guys where I tell you story time having nothing to do with any of this, just general fun stories from life. So I got one for you guys today. So members, I'll see you in a minute.